Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Nice to have you. So nice to have you. We have to do a little adjustment here. So I have to do a little adjustment. So I am adjusting. All right. So it's good to have you, everyone. So good to have you this morning. We're going to be talking about another important topic. And that topic is soul health, and why every leader needs it. And so I want to welcome everyone who is joining. And I want you to share this link with all those who you think will benefit from this. And so here we go this morning, looking at what we are talking about. We welcome your suggestions. We welcome your input. We want to add value to this conversation today. All right. The first thing I want us to bear in mind is that 2025 demands a different kind of leadership. So it's not just a high achieving leadership, but more a sustainable, soul centered leadership. Leadership today requires you to know yourself, know who you are, what you believe, what you want to do, how you want to do it, and who you really want to serve. So we want to, for those who don't know me, I'm Dr. Marcia Thomas. I am a Christian leadership consultant and life coach. I'm a best-selling author. I'm also a trainer, and I also help persons with their dissertation. I have a program, purpose alignment accelerator program for women 40 and over who needs to identify their purpose, understand what it is, and merge it or integrate it into their unique gifts and talents and profit from it by doing joyful work while they balance their faith, their career, and their family. Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday, Karen. Thanks so much for joining. And so the first thing I want to do, and so I want to enlarge my screen so persons can see and they can understand what we are doing today. So let me change my screen. Good. We want to look at a healthy soul. God says in 3 John 2 that he wants us to prosper. He wishes above all that we prosper and that we be in good health. The key word there that many times we miss is just as your soul prospers. Just as your soul prospers. So there is an assumption there that your soul is in the right place, that it is intact, that it is healthy and strong, and that is set. And so if that is set, then everything else will follow. So in my mind, I am seeing that wellness and wholeness is connected to our spiritual health, and that true prosperity comes from spiritual health and growth. And that spills out in all other areas of your life. If you know who you are, and why you were created, the problem you were created to solve, the sum total of your God given calling, which results in your purpose and a purpose driven life, then you are well on your way. Well on your way. And so a lot of people get very burnt out. Seem to be an epidemic that we are experiencing, where there is chronic burnt out. People are burnt out. Everybody you hear about, they're talking about how burnt out they are. There is disillusionment and purpose drift. Persons are not sure anymore because there is so much happening around them, so much chaos and confusion. In the workplace, there is so much uncertainty. There is so much disengagement and disconnect. And then there is the isolation and hidden exhaustion that leaders face on day in and day out, because leaders are alienated by virtue of their position and what it means for the broader community that we call the workplace. And so, no matter how closely knitted your team is, there is always that demarcation, that thin line that separates you because of the chain of command, because of the authority that is embedded in you, and because when certain decisions are made, you have to make those types of decisions. And those can be very puzzling for people, and that can put them on a very thin, tense line, no matter how close they are to the leader. And then there is a lot of persons who are performing instead of striving. So you're doing what you have to do, you're getting along with the business of the day, but there is not a holistic bonding, and there is not a drive or a push. You do what you have to do. You're really in survival mode. And most of us find ourselves at that point if we are not embedded in our purpose. Good morning, Curtis. Good morning, Michelle, and good morning. Okay, linking user, I see you. Very much so. And then we want to look at how much we view compliance as competence. Compliance is not necessarily competence. There are many of us who do what we have to do. We meet our deadline. We are very compliant, but competence is lacking, and collaboration. We just try to get it done. We just try to meet our deadlines. We just try to ensure that we get our salary at the end of each month or the end of each week or every fortnight. And we focus more on competition than collaboration, and compliance more than the competence. Once we get it done and get it done on time, it doesn't matter who do it for us. Some of us pay extra to get those things done. And then the killer is the constant demand, the digital overload, the emotional fatigue, the constant calling here and there, the constant expectations of you being all things to all men. So we are talking about leaders and the stress of leadership, because leadership has joys and sorrows, even if you are tucked smoothly and succinctly into the right place. If you're where you are, if you're in your dream job, if you're being successful, and if you're actually enjoying what you're doing, you still have the constant demands, the digital overload, and you still have the emotional fatigue, because a lot of what you do is online. And the incident of WhatsApp and those things have created so the hub spot, all of those things, Microsoft Teams and so on, Microsoft, Google Meet, all of those, Zoom, pushes, Go Brunch, pushes you into a digital overload. And so you'll find that there are various ways to communicate with people, and there are various ways that they can communicate with you. But guess what? It all adds up. It all adds up into something that can be detrimental or can be beneficial. It depends on you and how well you are nurturing yourself and your soul. And so in 2025, it is my opinion that leadership without soul care is leadership on borrowed time. Because when it gets chronic, when you are burnt out, when you are tired, your body feels it. And many times your body does not recover from those types of being that worn out, constantly fatigued, constantly on edge, constantly going. You have to be very careful about that. So strong leadership begins with a strong soul, because strong leadership requires you to be conscious and on point about how you lead, why you're leading, who you're serving. So you understand what you're to endure and what you're to evolve from. And so the soul being healthy pushes you in that direction. It leads you into what you must endure and what you're supposed to evolve from. Very important. Yes. Thank you, Karen. Great point with the digital overload. And so many of us find ourselves unconsciously pulled into this world where self-care versus soul care is very essential. I'm agreeing with you totally, Karen. All right. So we thank all of those who are listening and we want to share because this is very important. What is soul health then? If soul health is so important, and if without soul care, you are actually living on borrowed time, you're leading on borrowed time, what is it really? Soul health, really, and this comes from the World Health Organization. It comes from also Success in Time. It sees soul health as being when your inner life is strong enough. And I'm doing it very slowly because I want us to hear it and understand it. When your inner life is strong enough to sustain your outer leadership, your relationships, and your assignments without burning out. When your inner life is strong enough to sustain your outer leadership, your relationships, and your assignments without burning out, breaking down, or drifting away from your divine identity. Very, very important. Very, very important. Soul health. Very, very important. And so we want to look also at what it looks like. So before I tell you what it looks like, I want to maybe tell you some signs that your soul is not healthy. Some of the signs that your soul is not healthy is that you have constant anxiety. Constant anxiety, always anxious, always worried that something is going to happen, that something is going to go wrong, it's not going to go right. Then you also have emotional exhaustion. You're not feeling anything, or you get emotional. There is nothing that doesn't make you cry or get high strung or fraught. So we want to understand that when your soul is not healthy, when it needs a little care, you're always anxious. And the Bible tells us that we are to be anxious for nothing. Because the fact of the matter is, worry is just a rocking chair that takes you nowhere. Even if you spend 10 years worrying, you have to get at some point past the stage where you step away from worry, beyond that wall, and you reach to what is there, the solution or the acceptance or the resistance, whatever it is. And the emotional exhaustion can take you so much and so more, because when you get emotionally exhausted, you stop. You stop feeling, you stop caring, you stop believing, you become disconnected. And so if you find that you're leaning towards nonchalance, acceptance, whole scale acceptance, you're just going through the motions, you need to take a grip. And finally, another sign that I am finding is a loss of passion or purpose. You lose your passion and you lose your purpose. You're just wondering if it is all worth it. And that is normal, because sometimes life makes you feel that it's not worth it as a leader. You're not appreciated, you're not valued, and you're not seen to be doing anything, and that is affecting you a lot. All right. So what does soul care looks like? It looks like a mind at peace. It looks like a mind at peace. Your emotions are in balance. Thank you for joining. Amory, I'm sorry if I have not pronounced your name correctly. For those who don't know, I'm using two devices so I can push to see who is there. All right. Your emotions are in balance. You are calm and composed. You're conscious. You're firm. You're decisive when you need to be. And you're compassionate when you need to be. You're understanding when it needs to be. You give the compromise when you need to. That's the emotions in balance. Your will is steady and surrendered, and your spirit is anchored in God. Hi. Good morning, Joan. Thanks for joining. And that's so important because you are anchored. What I'm really saying is that when your soul is striving, when it's right where it's supposed to be, when it's functioning at its peak, you are anchored. You will have a mind at peace. And it doesn't mean that you don't have issues, that there are no problems, that there are no challenges, and that sometimes you're not feeling that you need to take a break. That's not what we're saying. We're saying you're anchored because your mind is at peace, because you understand and you accept the things that you can't change, and you're seeking help and support for the things that you can change and that is within your power to change. You're very surrounded and steady when it comes to God's will, because you tap into Him, because your spirit is anchored in God. So you don't lean on your own understanding. You acknowledge the promptings that are being placed on your heart and your soul. You understand the nudges that God is giving to you. You recognize God opportunities rather than good opportunities. And you are very focused on what we call saying yes. All right? Why it matters? It matters because if your soul is weary or overwhelmed or disconnected, everything else eventually feels the weight. If one is out of sync, which is your soul, if you're not sure where you're going, if you're not sure what you want, if you're undecided, very uncertain, if you find yourself being disconnected and being no longer passionate, if you don't want to get out of bed in the mornings, if you're dying for a holiday, if you're absent from work a lot, if you find that you're calling out sick, if you find that you're getting irritable and highly sensitive, if you're finding that you're not able to collaborate, you prefer to be by yourself, get the thing done and get out of there as quickly as possible, whether it is in your family or in your workplace, whether there is an overlap, then your soul is weary. You are overwhelmed and you're disconnected. And so everything else feels that weight. And we always talk about selfishness, and we say selfishness carries a price that other people have to pay. And so sometimes when your soul is out of sync and when it is not healthy, you pull into yourself, and you build that defense or protection around yourself, because you feel that that will actually hedge you in and keep you sober. But most of the times it is actually a selfish saving that does not benefit anyone, because in the end everybody loses, because it carries a weight and everybody else feels the weight, and more than anything it's you. And so we want to look at what we want to do, why soul care is so important, what are the benefits of soul care. Hi Lisa, thanks for joining. It prevents what I call compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue. So your mind is at ease, your emotions are stable and surrendered, your will is aligned with God, and your spirit is nourished and connected to your Creator. So you are compassionate when you need to be, and you are firm, as I said, and decisive when you need to be. And so if we are to talk about preventing compassion fatigue, it also means that you do not allow persons to play you, and you make sure that you add value to people's life, and you allow them to test themselves to see what they can produce. I say that all the time. And also that they become master of their own destiny, and that they become problem solvers and critical thinkers, so they are able to reflect about their own situation, and they're able to say what they will contribute to solve their own problems. I'm sorry. And so you are not fatigued. Your compassion doesn't spill over, that you become all things to all men. The next thing that we find is that soul health nourishes your inner life, in that it helps you to balance your faith, your family, and your career. Simply because if your inner life is nourished, then you know yourself And as I said before, you do not have that overwhelmed feeling. And so your soul allows you to remain calm in all circumstances and to balance work and life, because you know what truly matters and what is important, and you prioritize and put it in line. It also protects your leadership. Soul health protects your leadership, because you can't sustain a big mission on a starving soul. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So it helps you to lead without losing yourself. You can lead millions, you can lead 10, you can lead 2, but you will lose yourself if your mind, if you don't protect your mind, your body, and your soul, which is really what we call your purpose. So soul care helps you to remain sane, it helps you to be well, and it helps you to be whole. You know, sometimes we are focused on delivering, what would we call it now? We are focused on delivering outcomes, because that's our job. That's whatever we are, that's where we are. And we are also focused on supporting our team members, helping them to remain strong and healthy and focused, giving them the resources that they need, and so on. And we also have to be navigating constant change and deliverables, emergencies and crises as leaders. And so sometimes we do not take the time to become connected to ourselves. Hmm? We think we know ourselves until something happens and we realize that we really don't know ourselves enough. So what do I mean by knowing yourself? What I mean is that you're not totally and fully tune into organizational goals, so that everywhere you go, you carry that with you. You're in bed and you have the organizational goals written somewhere and put beside you on your bedstand, or you can't come off your phone when you're at home. You can barely have your meal because you carry home work with you. And we want to also talk about reflecting on yourself instead of your family obligations, feeling that if you don't do everything for your family, they will not survive. I remember last week we looked at it and we say that's just a myth. If they are not handicapped, if they don't have special needs, physical, mental needs, then they sometimes they are anxious for you to give them a break instead of micromanaging them. And the same thing at your workplace. So we are talking about taking a look at the deeper drivers, the things inside of you that shape how you lead, how you impact, how you grow, and how you fulfill your role. Because soul care needs you. It's your recession-proof industry. Soul care is your recession-proof industry. You need to nourish your soul. And so to do that, you have to be faithful with what you know, because you can't unknow what you already know. And so soul care also builds resilience and healthy movements, meaning that you are able to make strategic decisions and create those healthy movements that makes you maintain a warrior mindset. And a warrior mindset or spirit is that you can do all things that you are required to do and that you have to do through Christ who strengthens you. That's a warrior mindset. I can do all things that I have been appointed, divinely appointed to do, which is purpose, through Christ who strengthens me, because he does provide the resources, he does provide the destiny helpers, and he does open doors that no man can shut, and provide opportunities that are God opportunities, that are the God things that you need to get done, because not every opportunity is from God. And we want to pay attention to that. When your soul is in sync and when it is healthy, it does that. So leadership for me is not just about how much you carry, your roles and responsibilities, because everybody knows that leadership requires you to carry a lot, whether it's in your family as the head of your home, single mother, or the father that must be provider, protector, or in your organization, translates, or in your community where you may serve on boards and so on. Leadership carries a lot of responsibilities, a lot of expectations, and a lot of outcomes are dependent on you. A lot of lives are changed because of your ministry and because of your responsibilities, and outcomes are changed and persons are impacted and they are influenced, whether they are influenced in a good or a bad way. So it's not so much what you are carrying, it's about how well you care for yourself to carry properly what you're carrying forward, what it is that the value that you're adding. How do you take care of yourself while you're carrying it? How do you make the decisions? Do they affect your values? Are you doing it out of obligation, or are you really doing it because it's something that is embedded in your soul? What is the desired outcome that you are looking for when you decide to do what you're required to do? Is it for the money? Is it for the accolades, the performance, the title, the status? When all of that is gone, who are you really? Because that's your soul answering. Who are you really? Because a lot of times we don't function, we don't survive, and we really self-destruct when we are no longer carrying out a role, when we no longer have responsibilities, when we no longer feel that we are needed so much. So yourself needs you. And so you can't pour out of an empty cup. So you must nourish yourself first. You must build yourself first. And building yourself means that you know who you are. I'm not talking about finances. I'm talking about you know who you are, whose you are, why you are. And you know what you are created to do and the problem that you are divinely designed to solve. You know your purpose, and your purpose carries you joyfully on the journey of your calling. So you use your gifts, your unique gifts and your talents to profit from it, to serve others, to impact others, to grow others, to inspire others. And so there's a mutual benefit and there's a legacy building when you make disciples, because purpose is serving others and making disciples. What do we mean? We create persons who are masters of their own destiny, who identify their own purpose, who make sure that they tuck themselves where they are divinely orchestrated and belong, and they are able to impact, grow, and serve others from that position of knowing and accepting and understanding. So we now understand what it means. And so I want to end by giving us 7 crucial steps for sustainable soul care. 7 crucial steps for sustainable self-care. And those who I know there are persons here who are about self-care and soul care and so on. We thank you for joining, and we ask that you're joining the conversation by giving your points. All right. So we want to look at the first one, normalizing rest before burnout. Normalizing rest before burnout. You see, rest is not a reward. It's not a bonus gift. It is really a rhythm that you create where you know that you are pouring into yourself. You set time apart to pour into yourself, to nurture your soul, to nurture your spirit, to nurture your body, so that you can go back out the next day, do what you're required to do unapologetically, and show up as your best self, to add value, to change lives, and to change outcomes. So rest is really not optional. And if you don't do it before, then you'll become burnt out. And of course, if you're burnt out, you can't do anything that you're required to do. And your soul suffers. Your soul suffers. You also want to prioritize, which is the second step, to prioritize purpose over productivity. A lot of us find joy, have this productivity illusion, and we find joy in being busy, because busy suggests that we are getting the things done. But being busy doesn't mean that we are getting things done. And you can be great at your role, but you are far away from your purpose. Far away, you don't understand your purpose. You're good at what you are doing, but you are not that great of knowing why your why, how you want to show up, how you want to impact people, and what is really the result that you want. Because you look at performance and productivity, meeting the deadlines, and getting those things done as the sum total of your success. But significance is where you're pushing. When you talk about purpose, you're talking about significance. And significance means how you serve others, how you make people feel, how you change their lives, and they become your primary witnesses. And so I'm saying purpose fuels perseverance and keeps you anchored when purpose rises, when pressure rises, when your job situation is not so good, when things get toxic, when persons are unappreciative, when persons are condescending, when they undermine your efforts, when you have to be doing things for people who are in a position that really should be yours. All of those things, purpose keep you anchored and grounded because you're why. You understand why you're there and what is it that you're supposed to be solving and created to solve. And your paychecks serves you when you're in your purpose because God supplies all your needs and he finds the ways to make you get as much as the other person is getting. And so you can remain happy. That's what I mean by prioritizing purpose over productivity. And so you'll never at any time complain about what you don't have. You actually thank God for what you have. And then we want to look at embracing spirit-led decision making. What do I mean? If you lack wisdom, you want to ask from God, but you also want to ask him to show you the path for your feet, to make straight paths for your feet so that you are able to really prioritize purpose and you're able to normalize those aspects of your life and create a work-life balance. Because you see, spirit-led decision making is what we call discernment. We call it discernment, and it protects your mind and your mission and your calling. It protects your why. Discernment protects your why. And so spirit-led decision making is very important because once you're led by the spirit, then nothing goes wrong. He makes a way. And he says it. He makes that way of escape and he makes everything work for your good. And that's very, very important for persons who want to understand what it means to maintain and sustain soul health. You want to also honor your human limits. What do I mean? You are not superhuman. Blood runs in your vein, and there are times when you will fail or you will make mistakes, but you have to ensure that you embrace that. You want to make sure that you see your limits as divine boundaries and not flaws. You are born to do anything, but you were not divinely appointed to do everything. So don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't overcome it and become so enthusiastic that you feel that Rome can be built in a day. And if you don't build Rome, it will not be built. That's not so. Sit down and reflect on what is important to you, what truly matters. What are the patterns and themes in your life, in all areas of your life? What pulls you together? What is it that you are good at? What is it that you love to do? And how can you use it to change lives and to change outcomes? Very important. You also want to build emotional safety nets. You see, you were born alone, but leadership and life is a social entity. It's not static. It's very dynamic. It means that you need people and people need you. But you have to make sure that you are serving the right people and the right people are serving you. Many of the storms that are in our lives is because of who we take on board. You see, that spirit-led decision, very important. That discernment is very important for your mission and who you're to carry with you and how far they are to go with you as part of a team, as part of a family, as part of a community. You have to make sure that you're aligned in that way. And so you also want to practice discipline, digital boundaries. You are never to get up and start your day with notifications or check your mails or see what your to-do list. You must always get up and you must tune into meditation. Wake up with meditation and wake up with God. So you wake up with your meditation, you wake up with yourself, and you wake up with God, not your notifications and your emails as the first thing, or you're touching LinkedIn or you're touching your Facebook account, your Instagram, you're starting with a blast, so you hit the ground running with a notification or with a thought. No, you have to build yourself. You have to pour into yourself. You have to nourish yourself. And so you want to start your day with meditation and make sure that the digital boundaries are put out of the way. All right. So you want to make sure that you control the noise before the noise controls you. And then you want to root your identity in your calling and not performance. What do I mean by that? You want to ensure that you remember who you are and whose you are. You already know your family and what are your undeniable soul ties, whether it's your mother, your father, your children, or so on. So you now need to ground your identity into what your calling is. What is it that you're called to do? The problem that why are you created? Why do you exist? What is the problem that you're supposed to solve? So God defines you, not your title or your to-do list. You want to make sure you're out there. So you want to focus on why you're really here and what is it that you want to get done and how you want to get it done. And that's very important for the steps. So I want you to think about something here, and I want you to move into doing these things. Reflect deeply on what's draining you and what is fueling you, and you want to write that down somewhere so you can do your elimination and do it in time. So you want to look at what fuels you and what drains you, because that gives you a clue as to the condition of your soul. Then you want to realign. Ask yourself where you're off course from your God-given calling or your purpose and how you can come back. And as you come back, you want to refuel. So you want to rebuild your inner strength through your soul care practices. So what are some of your soul care practices that I want you to fill in? I want you to set aside 30 minutes daily for soul care. And 30 minutes can be that you take 10 minutes in the morning or the full 30 minutes, aligning yourself with nature, with God, with the universe, and listening for the promptings that you're being given, what you're to avoid, what you're to pull yourself towards, and what you need to get done and what can wait. And so you can do the 30 minutes before you start your day, or you can spread it out in 10 minutes gaps across your day. You want to journal your reset, realign, and referral reflections. And then you want to end the week with a plan that will lead you from overwhelm to overflow. So you're able to lead from overflow and not from overwhelm. You want to be able to focus on purpose and not give in to pressure. So I am challenging you. And so these are the key takeaways as we wrap up this session. The key takeaways for me is that your success is not sustainable without soul care. If you don't know who you are and why you're doing what you're doing, then you're just a robot. You're just a robot. So the next takeaway I want you to have is that you don't have to lead burnt out. Very important. You don't have to chase your calling and get exhausted. Your calling finds you when your soul is healthy and strong. You are able to identify your opportunities, your God things, and you're able to move towards them without fear. You were made to strive from the inside out. From the inside out, not the outside in. You were made to strive from the inside out. So God says, I want you to prosper as your soul prospered, not I want you to prosper after your soul comes after. So you prosper first and your soul comes after. He says, I wish above all that you prosper and be in health, other healthy, even as your soul prospered. And we already identified that is an assumption that you have to be your soul has to be nourished before any other thing fall in place. And we have already identified that if your soul is not nourished, then everything else feels the weight. If you don't know who you are and why you are, you suffer. And if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So another key takeaway is that the world needs what you carry, but it is not at the cost of your soul. So protect your soul, prioritize it, and prosper from it, because it is from that abundance that comes all knowledge, all energy, all power, all being. So if this conversation resonated with you, somebody out there hearing, I invite you to take the next step. What's the next step? Book a soul sync strategy session or do your purpose alignment audit, and let's have a conversation where we can work together to realign your purpose, your calling, and your soul health, so you have and maintain sustainable impact. You're able to inspire and you're able to grow others in 2025 and beyond. And so thank you so much. If you're not quite ready, as I said, you can do your purpose alignment, or the link is on my profile, and we can take it from there. Thank you. And may your Tuesday be peaceful, and may you serve intentionally, make the purpose filled. And I want to say, have a great rest of the week. Thank you so much, Joan, for taking the time. Lisa, Curtis, Amram, LinkedIn user, Karen. Thank you so much for joining, and all the other persons that are listening on YouTube. God be with you until next week, where we look at another powerful topic that will benefit all of us. And so